Hey guys, Joe here. And today we're going to Father Season to get another episode of What If Civilization Started Over. Now we will begin this stuff. We're over here in Ethiopia. That Cyan team doesn't like themselves, you know, so they're in the circle alliance, which the dark green team is not in for some reason. Well, I'll fix that. The dark green team will obviously join the circle alliance. However, the dark cyan team, they don't like the dark cyan, not the dark cyan, the circle alliance, as they can't expand anywhere because they are they can't, they're not strong enough to expand anywhere, and except for maybe the dark green team, as they've been weakened by undo as they've been weakened by, you know, like the wars they've had to go through. Except the only problem is the dark cyan team is in an alliance with them, and if they attack them, all of the circle lines would be brought into it, so they can't do that. Anyway, over here in grayish, purplish, India-ish, the Indians will become a country and begin expansion further into the um Indian subcontinent, claiming this area as their own. Boom. We're back. Here we go. Red names have to attack. But another person magic. And then the Greeks expand up here. Also, if you want to know what the song I keep singing is, it's just a song that I like. I guess, put the person who made it in the description, but yeah. However, the Italians will begin expanding. They don't expand past the Alps, however, as the Alps are too mountainous to expand into. However, they do expand around the Alps and begin expanding north. However, the Alps aren't really connected to them in good ways, so the country of northern Italy will revolt. So there's no way they cannot. And form their own country up here above the Alps, such as this. Over here in England, last episode we saw that countries were trying to consolidate power over England, as it's just war and war and war here. And so our next attempt to form a country is by this country completely taking over all of these not well known nations that hath no name. and thus this country will take control over all this land, becoming the first country to do so, not the first country to do so. Other countries have. Peaceful annexations will occur over here. This country annexing several others after peaceful votes within the to be annexed countries until they are looking like this. However, the light green country will also perform some peaceful unification annexations and will soon end up controlling this territory. The Welsh country will peacefully annex these. Some countries are starting to be are fine with being peacefully annexed as they realize that there's just going to be a bunch of wars if they don't. Then Cornwall unifies under this color, and now it's the only ununified part of England remains in the central part of the continent island. This country will annex that one. However, that's the last annexation that will not occur between these ones. This one will annex this one. And finally, this one will annex these two until these are the new borders of England. Obviously, England still isn't unified. We've got Wales, North England, this area, South England, Cornwall, Central England, South Central England, all of them. But anyway, we'll be going down here where this country is invading this country. And I totally forgot that this was happening, but it is. They pick up their invasion. However, the lying country, the French country, will push them out and they agree on a white peace. As France begins expansion farther into France. Over here in North Africa, more and more countries are beginning to be, more and more areas have been claimed. However, Portugal will soon fall to the great forces of splitting when North Portugal decides that enough is enough and they break off, forming their own country. And then the dark blue. Oh, sorry, I would have posted a video yesterday, but I was too excited about the new Life series, Past Life, so didn't record because I was watching that. Go the new waters of the world. So the African country will begin expanding after Portugal breaks apart. So will this country, claiming the rest of Sardinia. They'll also move north into Corsica However, this Catalonian country makes it to Sardinia first, taking the island away from their possible controllers, the Italians. So now the entire Mediterranean is completely controlled by humanity, and more of the old world is coming under human control. A set of purple explorers who call themselves Explorer Peoples the Greats decide to set off to explore. They go up here, they move around here, and then they use boats to get across here, and then they begin forming their own country inside of Crimea. It's originally here, however, it quickly expands here for defense purposes. Then as the population grows, it expands further into Crimea to get more areas to farm for the population and to make the population not cramped all into that small area. They push up against here and begin expanding around this side of the Black Sea. They begin going over here. They do that and begin working their way down there, not realizing how close they are to the purple team. However, the purple team decided not to expand this in this direction, hence why they already have pre-drawn borders over there. However, they made no such agreement over here in the Balkans, and they are still allowed to extend, and they begin extending, coming, making their area over here look like that. However, they soon touch the Ukrainian country, which quickly begins expanding near the border of the purple country to get more land for its people. Purple country will push up against this. However, more expansion in this region will come when the Greek country also begins pushing up against the purple team. Purple team will begin further expansion. The Greeks will begin wrapping up farther along the Turkish border, and then the Turkish will finally be blocked by the Ukrainians coming down and blocking them off as they begin further expansion over here. The Greeks meet up with them and begin doing that. So let me just fix this border a little. However, the Italians also begin pretty good expansions. Doing that. With the Greeks coming up to meet them. So, yeah, this is the border so far. However, we have to go down to Africa, where our first war of today's episode will begin. Well, except if you don't count the English ones, where with the blue team invading the yellow team, claiming it wants more land, and they take the yellow team's capital really quickly, as well as their two countries over here, Djibouti, as they begin further conquer of Greater Yellow Lands until they own this much. Now the blue want land. And so land is what they are given. They're given land down here. They are given land up here. Until their thus land doth look like this. They annex all of it, as they should. And the yellow team is graciously under absolutely undeniably destroyed. And it doth not exist anymore. Excuse me, it does exist. Just it exists some lot less than it did 5 minutes ago. Anyway, now that the routine is that, this is where we're going to end this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.